Derek, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, Elliot. How are you?
I'm doing well. We are lifelong martial artists, right? So it's great to talk to you and hear about your journey. I'm very interested in how yours and mine are similar and different, and uh, the whole way. So I guess when did you start martial arts, man?
I actually started when I was 8.
Okay,
So
nice.
it's
And what
just
kind?
I started with Wing Chun and I still do Wing Chun. Well, I actually teach Wing Chun. That's what I
Okay.
do now.
What made you want to start martial arts?
I think it's more of an Asian thing, actually.
Okay.
It's more like your parents want you to immerse yourself in the culture. So it was more like I didn't have a choice, actually. It was just more like you just go and learn it.
Oh, so your mom and dad did martial arts or and Wing Chun, or was that how? Okay.
No, I think for most like Chinese families, even now, they always just want their kids to like, especially Chinese that are born in like like in Canada or in the States, they
North
always
America,
want
yeah.
their yeah, they always want their kids to immerse themselves into their own culture. So you would be learning like Chinese, right? Learning the Chinese school, learning like maybe martial art that has to do with their culture. Um, Swimming, like well, not swimming, it's not Chinese culture, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
stuff that they all learn about their culture. Chinese school is very common. Yeah.
What was it like for you growing up Chinese in North America?
Actually, during my time, there is still quite a few Chinese. So, but in my school wise, I was probably the only two Chinese kid, and I was one of them. So
Okay, so
it's a
not
little
many.
different.
Yeah, different. So
Not
what
many.
yeah. What was it like? Because like a lot of times things are easier for us when there's other people who look like us and sound like us and their families are like us. Uh and that obviously wasn't your case. So what was that like?
Well, there's all I still think now it still exists. Like racism still exists, right?
Obviously, yeah.
But I think compared to now, I mean, when I look at my nephew's school, I mean, 90% is Chinese in their classes. There's only like
90%?
the teacher is Caucasian. That's it. Depending on which location, like I I live in the Scarborough area,
Okay.
so the school is mostly the kids. When you see the school pictures, like 90% is like Asian. The teacher is the only Caucasian one. So
That's
back
interesting.
then, when I grew up, I'm the opposite.
Right,
It was
right.
I was like one of the two Chinese kids there. So
Not okay. So when you go into Wing Chun, it's like forced upon you almost. Uh, did you like that?
no, I actually didn't appreciate it though. I fooled around the break time, so it
Okay.
wasn't. And
When did
I
it
think
start
I
to
was.
be? Sorry, go ahead.
So, oh, I can answer that. When did I?
Yeah.
I'm assuming when did I start to be more interested? I
When
think I
was it
was
like part of
watching.
like, oh, I'm going to do this. Like I'm good at it. Things like that.
I think I was actually watching the Jason Scott movie, the Dragon of
Oh,
Bruce
okay.
Lee. Yeah,
Yes. How old are you?
I think I was
No, how old are you
around.
now?
Oh, I'm 35.
Okay. So yeah, I love that movie. I could watch that movie again right now. Like I used to love the Bruce Lee movie. Yes.
Yeah, so it was like Jason Scott is in good shape, and I actually have the same birthday as Bruce Lee, so that makes it
Okay.
really more interesting. So,
Nice. When's the
so,
birthday?
so
When's yours and
no,
Bruce Lee's birthday?
November 27.
Okay. So all right.
So it
So you
got me
watched the
interested
movie.
more.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
watched the movie. And then when like that like perked it more, but when were you like, yo, this is what I'm gonna do with my life? How about that?
Uh, I think it's mostly this major shift started after I graduated in university. So I took I majored in graphic designing. That's what I
Okay.
majored in, and I think I graduated in 2008, and it was recession time, so it was really hard to find a job. So what happened was used my time to, hey, maybe I'll spend more time on something I enjoy, And so I decided to just focus on my Wing Chun. Actually, I actually didn't want to be I didn't thought about being a Wing Chun instructor. Actually, I actually just thought I would just use my time more wisely during the time when I was doing job hunting and looking for a job.
What for everyone that's not familiar with Wing Chun or the martial arts, explain what Wing Chun is a little bit, right? Like, I think people really know what Muay Thai is these days. They really know what Jiu-Jitsu is these days, wrestling, boxing. So what is Wing Chun?
Uh, so there's a lot of I guess legends and
Mm-hmm.
stories of Wing Chun, but for me, I'm more of the historical person. So I'll say the common one is they say that the Wing Chun was created in the Qing Dynasty when the Buddhist abbot Mui taught a female who was named Wing Chun to overcome a overlord who was bullying her or forcing her to get married. But I don't really buy that story. I'll
Okay.
say maybe these figures did exist, but actually for in my lineage, in the Yip Man lineage and the Muyat lineage, we strongly believe that it was actually a rebellion art, and it was used to rebel the Qing dynasty. So Qing dynasty is 400 years ago. So uh, the population is not really called Chinese. It's actually Hans. So even now in China, 90% of the population are Hans ethnics. And but when during the Qing dynasty, it was the Mongolian who took over. Um, so it was the Hans who want to overthrow the Qing dynasty. So it's like assassination art actually. It was like a rebellion. So that's why it's like close quarters. And actually, the Wing Chun system is actually this is a replica of my blade. So it's actually a blade art. It was two blade
Okay.
art, and then it was modified into an empty hand art during the time of the abbot Mui, who taught her student Wing Chun. So that's I think that would be more historically more correct rather than the female created for. You can't suddenly create a martial art out of the blue. It has to have some type of foundation in
Right.
order to teach that. So that's why I also don't believe in the snake and crane. So they said that the Buddhist nun saw a snake and crane fighting, and that's how she got the inspiration. And I was like, I don't buy that. So
Yeah. Uh some of the animal references I can see the movement, but like no, like there has to have a base foundation to where it came from. So
yes.
um that's really interesting. I did not know that. So um and so during the recession of '08, you go into Wing Chun. How do you start like making a living with it? Like, do you open a school, or what is it that you do?
No, I actually well, I took jobs here and there. I did mostly freelancing. Um, thought I would teach English in Hong Kong. So I actually through this whole time I wasn't really planning to teach Wing Chun at all. In Hong Kong, I also learned some from other masters in the Wing Chun system. I think it was by the time I was 25 when I came back to Toronto because my uncle passed away, so I had to come back, and then that's when I started to teach Wing Chun. And I asked my sifu, and I said, you know, if I have, can I have the permission to teach just for on the side? So he said, yeah, you can teach. And then that's when I started to really teach him when I was 25,
When you say
just on the side.
when you say on the side, what does that mean, on the side?
Oh, as in like one-on-one, semi-private classes,
Okay.
just when people who are interested, and I'll teach them. Yeah.
And where do you do that? Like at his school or at your house? Like, did you open like an official business?
I well, I still rent a facility,
Okay.
so by hourly basis. So I still do uh well, I'm doing personal training and Wing Chun at the same time. So I don't really do like a big group class. I mostly focus on private classes and semi-private classes.
Okay. So you teach in a semi, and you always have done it in that way.
Yeah.
Is that how you learned as well, or in a private, semi-private way, or did you learn in a big group formal class?
Both. I did one-on-ones, and then I did like in a group setting. It's more like a tradition. The group setting is more like a
Traditional,
traditional,
right?
very like a curriculum. Yeah.
So you said you do some personal training along with it. So like when you say that, when you mix the two, is it the same class that you mix, or is it like, you do Wing Chun one day and then like they do another day when they meet you at like 10 o'clock on Wednesday, and they'll do personal training, or is it all wrapped in one?
It all really depends on what they actually want to do. Some of them just want to learn. I want to learn A to B or A to Z of Wing Chun, and I'll teach them like the inside out of Wing Chun. And some of them just want like a stress relief or a hobbies. Like most of my clients who wants personal training and Wing Chun are mostly of them are like they probably didn't have money when they're younger and they really want to learn martial art or exposed to martial art, but they never had the chance. And now that they're more like they're older and they have the money, they just want to learn something. It wasn't, but for them, it's not. If they don't want to learn the inside out of Wing Chun, it's just more like a hobby thing or stress relief.
It's an interesting business model that you have. It's out of the norm of even martial arts, right? Like, because most martial arts, like I'm a martial arts school and I have 7 schools. We teach group classes, we teach private classes. The instructors can teach private classes, but that's the in general way. Like when you say you're a martial arts instructor, that's how it goes, right? You have a school, you teach at a school. Like tonight, like when we get done this podcast, I'm going to do a little editing and then I'm going to go teach for the rest of the day at my school. So how did this become your plan? Like how did you get here? Which is very odd in the martial arts sense, right? Like most people don't just like rent a space and like have some private clients. Most people have a class, have a school.
Uh, I just felt like one-on-one is more like there in my during I guess even right now it makes more logical sense for me
Okay.
because I mean in terms of I guess when you have like the overhead of facility is much more, right?
Oh yeah.
And for me, I can
But you
manage
can
these
also
things.
I can have 200, like tonight I'm going to have 250 people in the place.
Oh,
So like,
great.
yeah. So, and that's just in one night. Right. So like that is, that's, if you're going the school route, you must have students, multiple of them, right? Where yours is very personal. So, how many clients are you teaching, currently? I guess I would say it's just an interesting model to me, right? Because I have just such an opposite model of you. Like, so how many students do you have that you teach private classes to?
Well, right now, in a weekly basis, I'll have at least 40 hours of
Oh
teaching.
wow, holy shit, you have four. Okay, so
So
a
it's
full
not,
week's worth of teaching.
yeah. So I mean, that's why for me, for me, I just don't really for group classes if it's fixed, right? Like say that you have a class at 10 o'clock and
Mm-hmm.
then or no 5 o'clock, but then no one it's only one person, but I'll be like or two-person, whereas I can make my money more if I have say 4 semi-privates, right? So it really for me it's more logical for me in that sense. But
Mm-hmm.
of course the group class you're learning more for volume, and I think during COVID time that's really hard for
Oh
sure.
yeah, it sucked. you
Yeah.
you weren't worried at all during COVID, and I had to like look at, as far as your classes and students went, right? Like I had to look at my bank account and see how much money I had left to see how
Yeah.
many months I was going to make it.
But for in terms of like during COVID time, I was still stable though, because I
Mm-hmm.
was still able to teach them online. I was still able to go to their houses or they go to my houses. So it didn't really affect me too much in terms of business wise. So
For sure. And plus you do this other thing, right? You like have this, life coaching business, and you're an author. So when did those
yes.
things kick off for you? And like what do you do in those spaces?
Uh so it's the funny thing is more like the timeline will be I'll say I'm a martial artist first.
Okay.
Then will be like, hey Derek, you're in good shape. Like, can you teach me how to like work out and stuff? And for me, I'm like, I'm not a personal trainer. I don't want to get any liabilities. But like then I decided to, okay, maybe I'll just get a certificate and go to school for it. And then that's when I became the personal trainer.
So you
So
did
when
formal
people,
training in personal training. You got an education.
yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. It's just more like liability wise.
Right.
Like you don't want to, so you don't, so you just insurance wise and stuff. Like you can't just say I'm personal I'm a martial artist, so I can teach you fitness and whatnot. Like
Right. Right.
I don't think we can do that. So it was a personal training. No, first
First
martial art,
martial
personal
artist.
training, and then the life coaching was after when I have like clients where I felt like, hey, this person's mindset is off now. It's not really about the. It's not really. So they're doing their workout, but they're not getting results. And now I'm like, why they're not doing what they're telling them? Like maybe their mindset is really like something's wrong with their mindsets. And then I was doing a little bit of advising, and I'm like, I can't just give them advice. Maybe I'll just dig in deeper. It has to be with something, because I also have like a. When I was in school, I also did psychology, but I was only a few courses before I did my major, but I decided to not take it.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, and I'm not going to go back to school to be a psychologist. So maybe I'll go the little route where I can have something to say that I can help you with your mindsets. And that's when I decided to become a life coach as well.
Are
So
you into mindset work and all of that? Like, do you do it for yourself as well?
I do.
What made you get into that route? Because like normally, most people most people don't go this route. Like most people just like wake up, do their day, and they're unconcerned with their mindset. It's a
Well,
big thing now, right? It's coming now,
it
but
is.
still, I would still say the majority of people are not focusing on it.
I think I was listening to Tony Robbins for a
Okay.
long time. So I was listening to him. Well, actually, my oldest brother who introduced me to him, and his godmother is actually it's a psychologist in New York State, Buffalo.
Okay.
So it's like a lot of mindset for him stuff, and then he sort of introduced it to me, and that's when I started to listen to like uh, Tony Robbins. There's like Les Brown, the Zig Ziglar. Like it was more like it was high school, so it's always been to this mindset of this belief system is different, right? And
What would you
also, sorry,
go?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go. And also,
It's also because I'll also go back to because it's funny that you talk about how I was in China, being Chinese,
mm-hmm.
growing up in Canada, being the only one or two Chinese person. So for a lot of Chinese people, we notice that it doesn't matter if you can speak fluent English; they'll still put you in ESL classes. So for
ESL for
me, it
everyone,
wasn't.
English as a second language.
Yes. So for me, like I was a quiet kid, so they thought that I don't talk, or like I don't know how to talk much. So they'll send me to ESL. After that, they'll diagnose me to see, oh, Derek actually has special needs, right? So learning disability. So that sort of like hit me rock bottom a little bit too, because I always had to be separated from my friends. I had to go to like the special classes, even though I have nothing wrong with me.
So this is a
But
common thing for Asians, though, right? You're either they either put you in this like wicked smart area, or like, oh my god, he has to be a genius, or that you have this problem just because you tend to be quiet, you know. And look, obviously, you can speak fluent English, but you have an Asian accent. So there it is. You're now you're disabled in some way, or learning impaired. So this is a very common
yeah,
thing for Asians and Asian kids who come from traditional Asian households, wouldn't you say?
yes, and then you don't want to be labeled. So once
Mm-hmm.
you're labeled until your high school. So I was labeled around grade 2. So I've always had like parents meeting, like I have like a school psychologist just saying that, oh, Derek's this, and I'm like, it sort of gives you like a low self-esteem, right?
Mm-hmm.
For being, but for me, I didn't really. For me, even though it's funny because I still get, I'm not saying I'm getting like A plus all the time. Even if I get B's, I will still think, oh, Derek still needs special help. right? Or we had to put him in a special school, special classes. So that I even have like letters of like principals agreeing with the school board psychologists and yeah, we both agree that if we have Derek going back to a regular school, it'll just jeopardize his learning experience. Like it's really just demotivating but for myself, my dad was a strong believer of me. So because he's also a teacher himself. So he's like, no, Derek, it's not that you're bad. It's just maybe you're just learning slow, right? I'm like, but for me, I'm like, I'm still doing good. I still get 100% in art, right? But they don't talk about my art, right?
Right.
So there's just this mentality of me of like, you know what, like I'm not going to be judged based on someone's opinion. So my mindset has always been different from other people. So yeah, they didn't even know. So by the time in university, well, actually in high school, a lot of them were actually surprised that I actually got in Ontario at one point is the most prestige university for graphic designing. We're
Okay.
actually top one. So they're all actually surprised. So I mean, for me, like I'm more like the underdog type of thing where if you tell me I can't do it, I'll show you type of mentality.
Right. Right. And look, that's a definite developed and learned skill that you can obviously teach other people to do. What are some of the things that you really try to help people with in this mindset space?
Yes. So that's why when I notice my clients when I do the martial art and personal training, I see themselves having these similar mindset. But the difference is that they actually believe that someone else's opinion of you're not good enough or
Look, this is
you're
most people, Derek. Most people are very, very concerned with the opinions of others.
yeah. So that's why I took, like I can't just share my experience. So like maybe I'll say, that's why I took the life coaching to help them, to guide them to break their mindset or limited belief system.
What are some of the things you do? Talk to Elliot right now. Here I am. I'm struggling with this. I care what, that guy right over there across the street really thinks about me, and you can see this over time. What are some of the things that you would have Elliot do to help break or change my mindset, or as you said, break my limited belief system?
Well, we usually don't, in my field, we don't really talk. In a way, we make the client talk first rather than giving opinions and stuff. It's more, and treating them as a friend, treating them, being more human. I'll say, for example, for one of my other clients, like I never know this until I actually help these females, is that I never knew that some female actually gain weight. For them, you'd be like, oh, she's just probably eating too much, or she just have bad habits of eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or she just pick herself out. But surprisingly, a lot of females that I noticed for me, I encounter is that they are at one point very pretty, but they were sexually assaulted. And they thought that by eating more or make themselves look uglier, that this problem of people trying to it just push them away.
And it's almost subconscious, right? Like they do this in a subconscious way. They're not saying, oh, look, if I just make myself uglier, then this won't happen to me. But that's their solution to this problem.
Yes.
So right? Because plenty of non-attractive women get assaulted as well.
Yes. Yes. But like, you see where I'm going with this, Elliot?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to get to know the person more in order for them to tell you their history. Like get the trust first, and then I call it the good, bad, and ugly. As in, that's when they tell you, once they trust you, they'll slowly tell you more about the ugly side of things or what happened to them. Then you can slowly weed out the root of the problem, is what I call it. Because you can't really you can't really give your opinion, but most of the time I always tell my clients, we all have answers of ourselves. The main question is, why aren't you not doing it?
Sometimes that's like with the term life coach, it can irk me sometimes because I'm like, man, the only life that I'm trying to figure out is mine, and this is what's worked for me. So, like,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
like I can give you some hints and ideas of what I do, and look, I definitely like verge into this life coach realm too, but I'm like, look, this is what Elliot did, and if you want to follow it, come on.
yes. It's
So
for me, for life coaches, for me is more like I I always tell my clients and students I'm not perfect. I'm nowhere perfect, but I am able to own my problems. I'm able to own things I did in the past, and I'm able to share it to people because I am comfortable to share it to now. And I use my examples as a way that look, I'm also not perfect, and you shouldn't treat yourself like you have to be perfect, and that's how people sort of open up a little bit, right?
how do you deal with this, right? Because a lot of times, like it's like you know, a counselor or life coach or any type of coach, it's like they have to be perfect. So how do you bring yourself down off the pedestal of being perfect uh and dealing with that difficulty in your own life with your clients?
I share stories. um I think even for like the hardest time for me, I'll say I lost my brother when 2019, so through cancer. So I always use him as an example. He's a successful stock day trader. Um, so he had cancer. So for me, I always tell them like, hey, if he's able to be in the hospital bed and he's still working and he's still trying to push for it, like, especially for people who always feel like if just one thing happened to them, you say, oh, everything's over, right? For me, I'm like, look, it's not. You have to stop yourself from getting stuck in that moment. Most of the time, you just have to. Is it really that bad, right? Or
But
you're
look, in your
just
brother's case, it was really that bad. He had cancer.
yeah, yeah. And my brother and I always tell them like, look, like if my brother is still able to work and not complain, like has he complained? Yeah, he's always in pain and stuff, but like it's more what you value, what he value, right? He still value his family, and that's why he's still in the last day of his breath. He's still trying to work, trying to manage all the finances, right? And he wanted to make sure his family's okay, right? And that's why I always tell my clients, like, no matter how bad your day is or whatever happened to you, you have to know what is your value. What do you value? What makes you what you make you get up from bed, right? No matter what, you know. In the Chinese philosophy or Chinese sayings, if money is a problem or money can solve the problem, then it's not a problem. Things that are can't be solved by money, then that's a huge problem. Like, right?
Yeah, you can, like, I mean, in this example, you can have all the money in the world. It doesn't do a thing for cancer. Like you can get
Yeah.
more treatment maybe, but it's not necessarily going to work, right? Like plenty of really, really rich people. Uh, look, one of the richest ever, Steve Jobs, died of cancer, and his money could
Yeah.
not do anything for him.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why for me, I always say is yes, money. Well, actually, it's from Yip Man. Yip Man actually also. Well, when you look, do you ever follow the Yip Man series with
no,
the Donnie
no,
Yen?
no.
Uh, so Yip Man is Bruce Lee's mentor.
Okay.
If you So Yip Man was actually from a wealthy family. So back then, all the Chinese martial art in one certain point was just really made for the rich kids or wealthy family. So Yip Man was wealthy, so he was able to learn Wing Chun. So he said his tuition was around like 16 silver tile to just get accepted, and he has to pay like one silver tile every month
What
just
what's
to
that? What's that equivalent to today?
one silver tile can get like 100 pounds of rice, he said.
Okay, that's a lot of
And
rice.
16, yeah, 16 silver tile. He said you can get like another wife. You can get a couple of houses.
Okay.
So Yeah, he said that
I
in
don't
the
want another wife, man. No way. Fuck that. I got one. That's enough. No way. I don't want to.
But just for Yip Man,
Yeah.
Yip Man was coming from a very rich family until wartime happened and then communism happened. So he actually had lost everything, right? By the time he actually reached to Hong Kong.
Mhm.
So that's why there's a saying there's a poem he wrote. He wrote that money is just a lubricant of life. It doesn't make life. Like, yeah, you can do stuff with the money, but it's not life. It just helps you get by. And I think that's also embedded in a lot of Chinese thinking as well. Hence the money, if money is can solve the problem, then it's not a problem, right?
Yeah. I do. I like to say often, like, you can figure out how to make more money. There's tons of ways to make money. So uh, if that's my problem, I'll just figure that out. So I totally, I've never thought of it in the, if money can actually solve the problem, then it's not a problem. But yeah, I totally understand your philosophy there. When did you start down this author journey?
I actually started with my brother because
Man, hold
near
on.
his time.
Hold on one sec. Sorry. I'm really sorry to hear about your brother. We kind of diverged there, but it was on my mind. Like, uh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. So, and thank you for sharing that story. Like, you don't have to share that kind of personal information. So, thank you.
No, no, thank
Yeah.
you. Well, for me, like my brother was also an inspiration still.
Okay.
I think if anything, he is my life coach, but
Okay.
like more of the mindset one too, because it keeps like my coaching style is more like more. People say that I'm more blunt, but like my brother is more of the he's more like an A-type personality. He's sort of like he'll tell you what it is.
Mhm.
If you did something stupid, he'll tell you. Like, he'll also like cuss at you. He'll be like, what the hell you're doing, right? But it's more like it's not that it's bad. It's more like because he's so passionate that he wants this, especially people who is close to them, like to learn from their lessons rather than like he doesn't want to fake it, right? Some people
Mm.
just hide. They make stuff really circular, right? They smooth things out than it is. But if you're more blunt about it, and you're because truth hurts, right? And
It's not comfortable.
it's not comfortable. And I think my coaching method is also derived from that. It's more I always try to be as truthful as much as possible to my clients. Not trying to flower things up because they don't need that. And I said that if you need that, then you don't need a coach. You just go to your best friend and they'll just say whatever, right?
Right. So the author thing. Sorry. Now down the author path. When did that start for you?
So the author path comes well. I met along with the Aaron Raymond. Aaron Raymond is Raymond Aaron is also a New York best time seller. So there's an opportunity. He said that we can collaborate with him with Les Brown to make a book together. And yeah, I just jumped onto it, and that's when I wrote my first book.
Okay. And what was it called?
It's part of a series called The Authorities. Is similar to the Chicken Soup for the Soul, but it's more about the mindset of business and entrepreneurs, like contributing
Tell
and
me
how
more.
to.
Yeah. Tell me more. Tell me more. What the topics of the book are like. So if it's a series, I'd love to hear more about it.
So my series is more about the mindset of the martial artist mindset and how we think about things and how we transfer what we learn to everyday life. For example, balance, right? We're not always, people think of balance for us is, for me, I always say is really learning about what not to do, right? It's not always learning about what to do. Everyone knows what to do, right? It's more about learning what not to do. It's much easier, right? So it's like me when do personal training, people always say, hey, Derek, what do you eat? What do you eat? What do you do? I'm like, well, you know what to do. Like the main thing is what you're not doing, right? Right?
Sure. What to, all of us know how to lose weight. Every
Yes.
single one of us. It's very simple actually, right? Like you have to burn more calories than you're taking. So if you do that, winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yes.
some at a
Yes.
slower pace and some at a faster pace, right? Like that is different for each individual. But you know, if you don't eat as much, if you burn more, it wins. It's
Yes.
it's what not to do. Stop going to the refrigerator and having a bite every time you pass it.
Yes. Right. Or learning about letting go, right? How you let go of things. Because in Wing Chun, you always say, accept what comes, follow what goes. And that's also like as in terms of fighting, it's more like we're learning how to receive the force so that we can redirect it, right? Rather than blocking it. So it's the same thing in life too, right? Life is also an opponent. You
How do
have
you
to.
take this to entrepreneurship?
I actually went to entrepreneur school after too. Yeah.
Okay. What happens at entrepreneur school? Tell me, please.
Entrepreneur school was very interesting. The government of Ontario was funding this program. I actually did it on time. I think it's age 30 is the limit cut, and then I was
Okay.
there around I think 27. So yeah, it was interesting. It was Centennial College. It was funded by the government for 1 year. But then they funded the next year, which I was able to come again. So it was interesting. They have 5 coaches there. There's a
Can you hold
Bradley
on one
coach.
sec? Hold on one sec. My dog's losing his mind. Sorry, I didn't put him away. Hey, great. All right, sorry, I'll get that edited out. So go ahead. So you went to entrepreneur school. Go ahead.
Yeah, they were just coaching coaches to help you take yourself and your business to the next level and seeing what I was lacking of and what can I improve on, what my strength is. And in that time it was because it was funded by the government. So it was the first 2 years was more, I guess I was there in the right time because the first 2 years they have like you actually have 5 coaches.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
So you have like coaches. There's an accountant coach. There's a lawyer. There's sales. Um, there's a media one. It was just telling. It's a really like a good program that just exposes what you're lacking, what you should be working. Most businesses also lacking is a business plan, right? They don't have a business plan. Or
Right.
what is your niche? Who is your niche? And that's also I guess develop the personal training with the martial art and the life coaching because it's different.
Right.
What separate me is different because I'm not a martial art school where I just teach you martial art,
Right.
which is
Yeah. No, that's I guess what I was asking earlier was like this whole package that is Derek, but now I get it. Um, Look, last 2 questions here as we close up. And these 2 questions I do ask everybody. First of all, I believe everyone has a unique thing about them that makes them amazing. And they go give that to the world. And then the world then gives something back to them through that. Like it's like your superpower. So what do you think is your power?
what is my power. I never really thought of that. I think actually I do. I'm a big fan of Superman,
Okay.
and even more so Superman of the S signs. Now they changed it to the S sign means hope.
Okay.
So I always see myself as Superman, as in the sense that I will be there to help people to give them hope. Still, yeah,
Okay.
that's
But yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah. I think it's important that we know what it is that we give to the world. So that's why I asked that question. And then lastly, this podcast, right? Like this hour is 45 minutes that we're sitting down here. It's not really going to do much for like, your ROI or your needle, or like, you're not going to gain a lot of clients from this. Your Instagram won't blow up any more than than it has now. Like, I don't know, maybe 2 followers, something, so why sit down with a guy that you don't really know? You asked me what made me reach out to you. So now my question back to you is why say yes? why say yes to a podcast that, you know, it's just one dude with another and might not really do much for you in a financial or a sense.
I honestly believe in just reaching as much people as possible. For me, like you can't serve everyone, but I'm happy if my story is able to help someone, just even just one, like that makes my day.
Good. Right.
Really.
Awesome. I just think it's an important question. I say it, you know, I say this on every podcast. Like everyone always wants, like, oh man, what am I going to get? Man, you never know what you're going to get. You never know how this comes back to you. It's unaware sometimes the ROIs that we get in the world for work that we did, I don't know, a year ago, 10 years ago, or a relationship that we made. So, so who knows? Man, Derek, thanks for doing the podcast. Tell everyone where they can like find you if they would like to work with you, your website, your profiles, all that stuff, your social profiles, your books.
All my links are in my Instagram page, Derek G Chan. So DEREK GCHAN. That yeah, you can find me up in Instagram.
All right, awesome. Well, Derek, thanks for coming on. Everyone, as always, don't go out in the world and try to be Derek. He has his unique power and thing that he gives to the world. And don't try to be Elliot. I have my unique thing and power that I give to the world. Go out there, everyone, and find your own power.